live any second right now. Hello, welcome to the Power Knot. My name is Juan Boyce. I am your host, and as usual, let's go ahead and get this thing started. My name here is Juan Boyce. As I have mentioned, I have been programming computers since the age of 11, and what I talk about here on the Power Knot is tech leadership, unconventional. Pathways and all that fun stuff because you can learn leadership just like you can learn how to tie a perfect bow tie. Maybe that one's not so perfect, but hey, that's life for you. Let's go ahead and get it started. My guest today is Ram Prasad here, and he has spent his career operating at the intersection of speed and strategy. Ram Prasad is the CEO of Delence, a company that helps businesses build, scale, and grow by providing top tier fractional CTO and CPO leadership, the kind of guidance that startups and enterprises both need, but often don't realize they're missing. With over 20 years of experience, more than 100 apps under his belt, and a perspective shaped by a life across India, Nigeria, and now Houston, Ram has seen the full spectrum from scrappy pre-seed startups to billion-dollar giants trying to reinvent themselves. He starts every day with yoga and meditation and then dives headfirst into transforming tech chaos into clarity. Ram doesn't just move fast, he moves with intention. And today we're going to unpack what that looks like. Ram, welcome to the Power Knot. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate that here.
I appreciate that as well. And thank you so very much for having me on. It sounds like an interesting topic. My passion, my topic, my favorite topic to talk all day about. But of course, we have an hour to talk. But more importantly, thank you so much for extending the invitation. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to speak here.
Oh yes, of course, and of course, let's before we get started, let's see the tie.
Oh my gosh.
The tie, the bow
Oh, the
tie.
tie. Let's see the tie. Yeah, here's the tie.
Okay. Wait, let's see the pattern. Is that like a plain black one? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, the first one I saw.
The
Yes.
first one you saw, man, I should have let you know, man. It was a chance to find something, have a story behind it. I'm like, wow, man, where'd you go to the Met Gala or something? Black tie?
No, uh, no, this was something I had exactly 3 minutes to find something. I searched for it on Google, on Amazon,
Oh, wow.
and the first thing I picked, I selected it, and I didn't spend any more time on it. But no, if you're, did you expect something more colorful? I should.
You know what? Every guest has their own priorities, their own choices. But
Sure.
obviously, you are a busy person, so 3 minutes. That's what you have. This is today's tie. It's this wonderful diamond tip number. I had a diamond tip tie last week, but I don't know. I forgot to mention it.
No, I had to get it done by this. I forgot about it, and then I had to get up. I had to get it this morning, so I ordered it last night. Thanks so much for Amazon delivery services. You can get it
Oh, same
overnight,
day delivery.
same day delivery. Well, it's overnight delivery. They deliver between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. So I had when I woke up at when I opened the door at 8 a.m. It was right there, and th- that was good. That was good.
Oh, nice. Well, first bow tie, but perhaps not the last. Like I said, that'll be
No,
perfect for the, whatever version of, black tie event, put on a real tie and it's always nice. Black tie. I'm down for that. So that's good. It looks like we've, ready to go. So I've got, well, first step is, of course, put it over our shoulder, but let's go ahead and ask some questions. So you lived in India, Nigeria, and now Houston. How have those experiences shaped how you lead and advise teams?
sure. I was I was born in India. I born in India. At the age of 4, we moved to Nigeria. So I did most of my schooling in Lagos, Nigeria. So I spent 12 years in Lagos, Nigeria. At the age of 16, for to complete my, I completed my high school back home in India. I then did my undergraduate college degree in India as well. Subsequent to that, I came here to Houston to do my master's. And Houston being so, I did my master's in electrical engineering, and I there was it's an international city as well. It's a lot of foreign students, a lot of international crowd, people, students from everywhere. So I was fortunate to get exposed to people in Nigeria, exposed to, of course, my home country, India, and of course, in the U.S. In addition to U.S. citizens, people from a diverse from all over the world, and what I my from personal experience, we all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, but at the root, what I learned is people are the same. They want to, from a work perspective, they want to offer value and they want to feel valued. And so in my dealings and through my work, I have been fortunate to work with teams across the world as well. It's a global economy. And I worked with teams in Brazil, in Mexico, in Vietnam, in the Philippines, in Australia, in the UK and India. So Canada, I worked across, and again, it's the same pattern. It's people are different. So, but the diverse, to answer your question specifically, the diverse background allows you to relate to a larger number of people. So I recall several experiences where there might be a challenging situation. I've You can now relate, and in one particular situation, there was a person from Nigeria who was the architect on the team, and he refused he was stuck on his own approach, his way or right way. And coming having worked with a lot of studied with a lot of Nigerians, I could, we made some Nigerian jokes. We could relate to that. He gained over a period of a few weeks. He gained trust that I'm his friend. We're not. We're, it's. I mean, the objectives might be different, but it allowed me to relate in that specific example. But it's not just from that country alone. It's just it gives you a perspective to be able to relate to a larger number of people. So I've been fortunate to. I mean, I didn't choose where I was born. I didn't choose where I went to school. My father got a job in Nigeria, and so we moved. But this the experiences acquired by with working with and interacting and having friendships across the globe. It just helps you to relate to a large number of people, and that helps because you what I learned in order to succeed technically, you have to have technological background, the engineering background, but you at the end you need to combine that with empathy. You need to
Yes.
and empathetic relationships uh, uh, are easier to build when you understand where the person comes from and appreciate his background, knowing that the human spirit is the same across the globe.
Yes, that's good. Yes, I like that. I like that. People are different across the world, but they're also the same. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's good to be able to build that kind of that bridge where we're all able to connect. Oh, but before we did this, this is the zeroth step. um, the tie should be adjusted. You see, I'll show you right here on mine. Like mine's already adjusted because I may or may not have tied this tie, but there's like a little T thing here. You see, yours is still out. I can already tell. You see, you got to put it into one of these slots. And if yours has numbers on it, then you just choose your neck size. If it's not connected, your tie might fall apart, and that would
Okay.
not be great.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Like I said, it just came in the mail, so I need to know the size of. Is that the size of my collar?
Yeah, the size of your collar, exactly.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So, let's ask another thing. What inspired you to start Delence, and why fractional leadership, and why now?
Those are good questions. And strange as it may sound, um, I did not intentionally decide to start it. It just happened. It just happened, and it was fortunate. It turned out to be the right thing. But in 2016, I was working full time for a tech company here in Houston, and one of my friends who was running a company in Houston, an oil and gas tech company, uh, wanted some assistance. He wanted to recruit me into his organization, but at that point in time, I was not ready to make a change. And so he convinced me to start to help him part time. That sounded like a great idea. So you see, he said a couple hours a day is what he needed. It was a chaotic process, his organization. He needed some order in the chaos. Uh, and so I consulted with him, consulted with a few members of the team, and I was working full time, squeezing in some time as possible in 2016. It worked out very well. It worked out very well. It turned out to be more than a few hours a day, but I was able to juggle that. He then introduced me to another friend or contact of his. So I started consulting with a second client. He then referred me to a third client. And before I knew it, I had three clients that I was juggling, and I had to make a decision that whether I have to do this or not.
Right.
And it was too much fun consulting with three clients, helping them firsthand succeed, grow, scale, uh, and yield results in a relatively quick time. So it seemed like that's what the market needed. It seems like that's what the market needed. In 2016, the word fractional was not very popular. Uh, we would call ourselves virtual CTOs. But then in 2020, everybody became virtual. And so then we had to find a different term. And so then I guess in the tech world, the word fractional came into being. But I got my first client by chance. My second and third came through an introduction from the first client, and then it seemed like a fun journey. So I continued, and that's how I started Delence. Now, why now? I think it's all the more important now. Uh, Companies struggle with finding the right talent at the executive level. People want to grow fast. People want to scale. When I say people, companies want to innovate. And you may not have if you cannot find the right talent and retain the right talent, or you cannot afford the right talent, then you need a fractional CTO or a fractional CPO. And so I think now as in the world of AI, you need someone with that level of expertise and experience to accelerate uh, product development, to accelerate vision development, to accelerate growth and accelerate scaling uh, in a new and your in-house team may or may not be ready for that. And but more importantly, you need the leadership guidance to take you there, to take you there, to
Okay,
take
yeah,
you there.
that makes sense. And speaking of take it, then let's go ahead and put this uh, tie around our neck and get the first step done. Let me make sure that my cable for my well, it doesn't matter. If I tie my cable into my tie, won't be the worst thing in the world. I'll be okay. But you put it around your neck. What I like to
I'm
do
trying.
is wait. Did you get it connected yet?
No,
Adjusted?
I'm working on that.
Oh man, yeah. Well, we gotta multitask, man. That's the
Okay,
whole point of the podcast, you
okay.
know.
No, I'm.
Because what I don't want to do is leave you hanging here. But well, let's go on with another
let,
question.
let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah. In one of
Eh,
your posts, you wrote, "Discipline without urgency creates drift. Urgency without discipline creates noise." Can you expand on that? Do you have an example of a company that struck that balance well?
yeah. So discipline translates to process.
Okay.
So if you are extremely st- stuck on process, you do process for the sake of process. So there are companies that I have encountered who tell you that we need discipline and therefore we need this process. It's rigid, uh, but they get engrossed in the process such that they lose sight of the objective. So if you tell me, this is a good example, uh, you need to tie, there's a certain way to tie your bow tie. Now, by the way, then it's a process. It's a process. Maybe there's an adaptation that one needs to do, as an example, to achieve it. Maybe it just doesn't work for that one person. That's an example, but it's similar to that. And that's the maybe you have learned the right process to do, and then you get hung up on the process. So you have managers who say you have to fill up this form, you have to fill up this requirement form, you have to test before you push it out. Now those sound reasonable and valid, and they are valid. However, you have to also look at the big picture. What are you trying to accomplish? How do you be flexible within that? So discipline is extreme focus on discipline, without keeping losing without keep losing with by and losing sight of the objective is, uh, not a nice thing.
Okay, I think I get that. Like, and forgive me, let me restate this to make sure I have the right thing. Like in my personal life, right? I'm doing school. I'm trying to do this in let's say a very aggressive timeline. I'm trying to do my school. So the discipline part of it is making sure that I have those hours scheduled for my school. But the urgency part is having that aggressive timeline that I want to finish before a certain date. So the
Right.
idea is that without the urgency, I could have that process, have that time set aside for studying. But if I don't have the urgency, what am I really doing? But
Right.
if I have that urgency to say I'm going to get this thing done, but I don't have the discipline, then again, that doesn't work. Really have to have both, right?
Yeah, that's right. So that's a good example, excellent example. But the discipline, it's not sufficient to set aside the number of hours. So it's now you can allocate 4 hours a day
Hmm.
to study. Now, how effectively you use the 4 hours is the key. So
Uh,
the discipline includes the time allocation and how effectively, you are doing that.
Okay, I get it. You know, like I don't know, I feel like the way I study is a little different. You know, I do a lot of reading and not a lot of note taking, not a lot of flashcards, but you know, but yeah, I don't know. I
And
never think
and
about the way I'm allocating it.
Yeah, and flashcards work for some, flashcards don't work for some, notes work for some, notes do not work. So you have to adapt within reason, uh, to the team that you're managing, the team that you're leading, such that, so if there is a team of three, there is a light process. If there is a team of 25, you need to make sure it's scalable,
Mm.
and you cannot apply the process that works for 25 people to a team of 3. You may have additional overhead that may not be worth it. So you have to adapt the process to the size of the team, the maturity of the team, the objectives of the team. So that's what discipline is. So
Okay,
it's
that makes sense
yeah.
because if I'm studying by myself, then I really don't need that much process. But
Right.
if you can, and we have 3 people, all 3 people they all know each other, and there's a lot that is implicit, and that implicit stuff has to become explicit once you scale beyond a certain size, right? So that
Correct.
makes
Correct.
sense. I get that. Okay, that's one of those things that makes sense. Which that's good. Did you get your
No,
tie?
I'm going to skip this part.
You gotta
That's
skip
okay.
it. You gotta
Yeah, yeah,
skip adjusting the tie. That's like
yeah.
the podcast,
No,
man.
no, I'm going to skip it because there's something. I have something with my fingers. It's going to make it harder. I'm just going to skip it. I'm just going to skip it if
Okay,
that's okay.
what do you mean? You're gonna skip adjusting it?
I'm going to skip trying to do it. If that's okay with you. If that's
Skip.
okay with you.
That's unorthodox. I'd appreciate if you try because like, what's the picture gonna look like? You know?
Okay, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yes, that's great because that's the thing. I'm a big fan of saying you got to give it a shot, man.
No,
Um,
I do that in certain things, but I hear you. I hear you. It's just that I'm having some challenges with my fingers today,
oh
and
no, I hope it's not pain or anything.
no, it's not a pain. There is some movement issues that I have. So
Yeah, no, it definitely requires a certain amount of dexterity to
yeah,
tie a
no,
tie. That's for sure.
yeah. So my hand, I have some challenge with my hand, so it takes a little longer time than normal. So if it's okay, I'm going to skip it. I'm going to skip it. I'm
Okay,
going to skip
well,
it.
you know
Okay.
what? I believe in accommodations and accessibility and all that
Thank
stuff,
you.
man.
Thank you so
You
much.
know,
Thank you so
uh,
much.
you know. But what I'll do is I'll just tie my tie because I want to make sure we try to follow the format as much as possible. You
Sure,
know.
sure. And I apologize for that. I just don't want to exert the energy in my fingers right now uh, to do that. And yeah, just that's okay.
No, no, no,
I
no. It's like what you said before. Diversity. I think that diversity is not just lip service, but it's like you know sometimes our society fails to accommodate for certain types of differences, and I think that's a bad thing, right? We lose people. We lose all kinds of perspectives because we haven't accounted for people comes in these varieties and those varieties. It shouldn't just be one type, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, and sorry for not being a sport, yeah, but it requires some extra additional dexterity in my fingers that I got some injury that I don't want to exert, and I'm finding that when I do that, there is some exertion that I need to. I could do it, but it's going to take much
No,
longer
no,
than
no,
normal.
no,
So,
no.
so
Don't
we're going to skip it. We are going to skip it.
don't bring back the old injury, man.
All right, all right,
This is supposed to be fun, not painful.
right. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the accommodation. All
Yeah,
right.
but let me go ahead and start the way I usually do. And I have one end that's longer than the other. What I like to do is I like to cross the long end over the short end, and then I just dip it under and pull it over, and then that is the parrot on the shoulder, or the squirrel on the shoulder, or whatever it is on your shoulder, and then we'll go on to the next step here. So, tell me, what's one kind of structure startups often avoid but desperately need earlier than they think?
A lot of tech startups focus on building. They build, but and they focus on the what to build, and not the what, but how to build. But the process that is missing is the what to build. This is where you need to partner with the product team to understand whether what you're trying to build is truly what the market wants. So you may have a great idea and it's the market of one. You might think that you like it, and and so you build it, but you are biased from day one that what you want is what the world wants. And so that the process of finding what is it that you need to build within the constraints of your original idea. Maybe it's a different form, different shape, a variation of your original idea. To take the time to find that, the process to identify what they call the product market fit is missing in startups. And so what happens, and I've done this a couple of times myself, so I plead guilty in this regard. Got a great idea, great to me. So then I know how to build. So then I start building it, and then I build and then make it perfect, and then I try to sell, but then I get different feedback. But I've invested my time and effort in building a certain thing, so I'm resistant to change because I've invested so much time and effort in building something. So then it makes it difficult to pivot, to change directions. So if you take the time upfront, from a process standpoint, you take the time to find out by building something really small, by experimentation, by just talking to people, uh, getting feedback on your idea, taking small steps in building a small aspect of what the market wants, pushing it out to the market. So that initial process of think big but act small is missing. So people are thinking big and acting big. So thinking big is good. You need to think big. That's the good part. But then you need to act small. So when you combine think big with act big, then it's outgrows. You might be spending money and effort and time in the wrong direction. So that's what's missing in startups for the most part.
I get it. It's I don't know. I want to say, isn't that the lean process? You produce your MVP, you see how the world reacts to it, and then you
Yeah,
modify, you pivot as necessary.
yeah. In essence, it's a lean process. But you build as small as you can, as meaningful as it as meaningful small as and meaningful as it can be. But yes, that in essence is the lean startup process.
Okay. Tell me, what does a typical engagement with Delence look like? When do you know a company really needs outside leadership?
So a typical engagement is you start off with an assessment. So we assess whether there's a gaps in the technology, gaps in the product, gaps in process, gaps in teams, uh, gaps in retain of the right person on the right job. So you assess it. You assess the organization holistically, not just from a particular perspective. Then you provide a recommendation on how to address those gaps, and then you work in conjunction with the customer to take one or two priority, identify the top on the list, and you focus on that, and then go down the list till it makes sense. So that's a typical engagement. There are a few red flags that tell me when you need when you need outside leadership. Number one, and this is the big one, attrition. If in a technology team, you see a lot of a revolving door, people coming in, staying for 1 or 2 years, getting out. There is a leadership challenge. There's a leadership. So maybe they're building some exciting products, but they do not have structure or discipline associated with that. That's one red. That's when they need leadership. That's one indicator of needing leadership. The other one is overcommitting to committing to customers, but unable to deliver. So the CEO team might say, yes, I can build this, I can build this, but the team is unable to deliver to those expectations. So those are two. And my very first client, back when I was working full time, and had those exact same challenges. Nobody was staying in the organization for more than a year on average. And the CEO was overcommitting to customers, pushing the team to work 24/7. He was continuously changing priorities based on the conversation he had the prior day with the customer. And he had all these great ideas, so he was a visionary. But in terms of having ideas and wanting to do it, but it just was not happening. So that's when he brought me on. So the first thing I did is I told him, we had a chat, and after the assessment phase, give me 6 weeks. Because he would micromanage, he would change direction. You and I chat. Let's not let me handle the team. Give me 6 weeks to demonstrate what we can achieve. So that's what we did. I understood his 6 week vision, what he expected in 6 weeks. So, and then I said, okay, now that's 6 weeks. Let's freeze that. That's what we'll deliver in 6 weeks. I mean, it was an ambitious expectation, but that's what he expected. So then I came in, organized the effort, organized the team, systematized the process, and in 6 weeks we hit most of his expectations. So that's when he got excited. It's for the first time, a goal that was set was actually accomplished in his mind. I mean, obviously things were being accomplished, but much late before I came in, much later than he normally wanted. And the next shiny ball would be of interest before the first goal was accomplished. And then the team was excited and that's important. You need an excited team, because they're who can deliver for your solution to you, because they saw some measure of success based on their effort. So an effort was applied, success was accomplished, in the sense that whatever was set out to be accomplished was actually accomplished. Customers gave positive feedback, so that there was reinforcement. And so you need to address those red flags. Now it's very difficult without the experienced leadership who can stick to it to accomplish that. So that's an example of what a company lacks and needing external leadership, like a fractional CTO.
Okay, that makes sense. Attrition and dang, I forget what was the other thing you said. People leaving, and then that's right, over promising. Probably interrelated to both of them, right? Because people aren't going to want to stay if they're not feeling that they're making any progress, if they're feeling like they're burnt out. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the and in those same 6 weeks, it is not that they worked only 8 hours and went because it was an aggressive deadline,
Hmm.
but they did more than expected share, more than what they should be doing, not more than what they should be doing, but more than what you would think they would do. But they were committed to the new vision and and able to deliver, but not chaotic, not knowing what's going to come in tomorrow.
Right, right.
So they know what's coming in 6 weeks and they know what is expected, and so there's clarity in the goals. So there's clarity, there's consistency of alignment in terms of the team and a common objective to accomplish. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, let's go ahead to the next step. What I like to do is take the short end here, and I put my finger on the widest part. I fold it over. That makes my front bow. I pull the long end that should have been over my shoulder, and then I pull that down. Makes it look a little bit like an elephant. You've got your ears, got your trunk, and then we like to hold it until while we do the next question here. What is a common mistake you see early stage companies make when they're trying to scale?
The most they try to scale too quickly.
Hmm.
That's I mean, in terms of scalability issues. I mean, you before you find out whether the product is has hit the sweet spot in terms of market acceptance, you build a robust technology that it can scale. So you build something that works for 1,000 people, and it takes engineering effort to do that, as opposed to something that works well for one person or two people. Is a different. You can do something that works for less than 10 people. You can put less effort, but you can validate that it works well, and that's what the customers really want. Then you spend the time and effort to make sure it works for 1,000 people. But if you spend the time to make sure it works for 1,000 people, the first 10 people may not want it.
I get what you mean. You have to validate before you scale, right?
You have to validate before you.
You don't need it to work for 1,000 people if you don't have 1,000 people that like it.
Yeah,
And
that's essentially.
if
Yeah,
it fails because too many people are using it or it's too popular, that's what we call a good problem to have. Reminds me of the fail whale from Twitter. It happened because people liked Twitter at the time. You know,
right, right,
and just because we saw the whale doesn't mean people stopped using it.
right. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and so if you spend the time to make, and thousand is just an arbitrary number here, but if you spend the time to build for 1,000, when you have not validated the market for that product, you have spent money, you have spent time, you may not have the resources to then change your effort to find to build a product that works for the first 10 people.
Hmm.
So your money is spent, your time is spent, your energy is spent, your motivations are exhausted because now you're tired. And more importantly, you don't have, I mean, you don't have resources to do it. So then you are stuck.
Yeah, I get it. Let's go ahead and continue here with the tie. I like to pull on these
Great
elephant's
job
ears.
holding it. Great job holding it in place there.
Oh, it's basically not that hard. It's just something I do, but I'm just doing it in slow motion early. So you pull on the ears, you pull on the elephant, you find the hole, you pinch. All right. And once you pinch, that should allow you to use your thumb to push the base of that elephant's trunk through that hole. That will form your back loop. And assuming that I have adjusted my tie correctly, I should be able to pull that just enough to get a loop, and then that'll be my bow tie. Hold on. Um, Trying to pull the, there it is. There's the loop, and it didn't pull all the way out. Let's see if I could pull that. And oh, I don't know. It looks sort of like a tie. My front loop got a little messed up, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna adjust that. Get my front loop back together. What I like about a nice diamond tip tie is how it's got a little bit of asymmetry to it, you know. But I think the reason this came out this way is because I need to lengthen my tie. No worries there. Let's go ahead and ask another question, and then
Oh,
I
that looks
will.
cool. That looks cool. Like it looks like a bow tie now. You can see that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, it does. I can do better. But that's the thing, man. It's like I have very high standards I keep for myself, and even if the world says, "Oh, that looks like a bow tie," I know I can do better. So I'll just redo it. And
Yeah,
that
I have seen your other pictures. I agree with that. Definitely, there's a better there's a better bow tie out there for you.
no, it's no problem. I do this, and sometimes I tie and tie and retie. It's not always going to be the best thing on the first time. I think that's a problem, that whether you're tying a bow tie or leading a team or you're building something, people expect their first time to be perfect. And that's just not how it works. You learn. So the first time you do it, you're going to learn. Second time, you learn more. And then when you look, especially when you're looking on, say, social media, and you're seeing someone who's done something thousands of times, perhaps I've tied thousands of ties, for example, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, well, geez, how am I supposed to do that on my first time? And, but you can't compare your first time to someone else's thousandth. It's just not fair, you know?
Right. That is true. So true. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, but here's the opposite question here. What's something big enterprises often get wrong when they try to move fast, like startups?
Now that's a good question because they talk I have had a couple of large customers who want to go fast, and but you need alignment first.
Mhm.
So because there are there are much many more stakeholders who have different perspectives. So going fast, I have had a large oil company bring in external forces from Amazon and Netflix and Tesla with the intent they want to grow fast, but you need cultural alignment first. And the way those companies operate may be different from a typical large enterprise of today. In the oil and gas sector, as an example, they may operate on, it's not that one is better than the other. It is just that the objectives and the approaches are different. So when you try to go fast by bringing in a culture of Google and Microsoft and saying, let's force this culture within the organization, uh, it may not work. So the mistake is lack of alignment, and I've seen this firsthand in a couple of places at least.
Okay, good. That makes sense, because when you have I don't know, it's almost like they say herding cats. The more people you have, the more opinions, the more points of view you have. So it seems like it would be exponentially harder to align people the more people you have.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know?
the bow tie looks much better now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just went by feel there. I just adjusted it, made it a little longer, so I had more
Right.
space around my neck. So, oh, here's something. You said that features are exciting, but sustainable GTM is harder. How do you help companies tie product strategy to revenue?
Well, at the core, it's the same thing, the product market fit. You do not evaluate a feature that necessarily looks cool, is something that I like. You validate it against, are people buying it? Are people buying it? So I had a company, one of my clients in the ed tech sector. They had a large engineering team, and they were building. They knew how to build. They knew how to build, and they were consistently shipping out new products. But their customers were buying only one of their products. So they had half a dozen products, which are variations of the first and much better enhancements of the first and some new ideas in the market. But the existing customers were all buying the first one. So they had spent a lot of time and effort in building the other products, the other five or six other additional products. But the proof was it was not generating revenues. So we actually went in and did a study of their existing customer base to understand why they liked the first product, what they were really looking for, and we identified they were looking for something else besides the six products that they'd additionally built. So then we focused our energies in building an additional product. It was an additional product, but it was after a study done to understand a series of interviews, a series of mock-ups and to understand what the pain points of the customer, not an assumed pain point. And with the seventh product, people started buying it. The revenues doubled in a year.
Nice.
Revenues doubled. So that's the first time, and it was immediately noticeable. So that is the it was immediately, because when revenues double, everyone pays attention to understand what happened. So they built the first product was a success. The next five products nobody bought, and then the product that we introduced after an assessment doubled the revenues again. So it's important to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. What does real alignment look like, and how do you help teams build it before they scale?
Real alignment. I mean, that's it's a hard. The real alignment is everyone in the organization has the same objective. It goes back to that 6 week goal.
Mm,
The CEO was aligned on what to expect in 6 weeks. The team leadership was aligned on what to expect. Everyone, and then the team knew what to expect, and did that. They obviously were challenges in the 6 weeks, but the leadership's task is to clear those obstacles. Maybe they were technical challenges, maybe they could be workarounds, but the objective, that's alignment, where everyone helps. You don't get you clear the blockers. You know what to build. You know what to expect. You know what, and that is an example of alignment.
nice, nice, nice. And you wrote build your ecosystem before you need it. What does that mean in practice, and how can startups take that advice seriously?
Yeah. So the ecosystem is, how do I implement? You mentioned earlier the lean methodology. I mean, it's easy. You can talk about lean all day long, but what is required to build that system such that you can actually be lean? Meaning, what that means is, I need to build something small. I need to validate it. How do you build this infrastructure that tells you how to validate it?
Mm,
So, I mean, an example is, Facebook Meta releases new features, hundreds of features a day. Every developer is allowed to release a new feature, but then it gets marketed not by your opinion or my opinion, but by how many people click on it, how many will consume it, how much the ad revenues have increased. It has to prove itself in the market. So everybody can release it. It goes to a subset of people randomly. They this the infrastructure exists to allow you to push to a random number of users. The infrastructure exists to validate the numbers, how many people clicked on it, what was the increase in ad revenue. All these are that is the ecosystem. That is the ecosystem. So you need, I mean, you don't have to build an extensive, as expensive ecosystem as Meta did, as Meta has got, but because they have a lot bigger revenues and a lot larger number of employees. But you need to build that infrastructure or that ecosystem, as we call it, before. And you need to find the right, again, you need to find the right balance. You need to find the right balance for the size of your organization. But you need a system where you are not depending, you speak to 10 people, you are able to quantify the impact to those 10 people as opposed to subjective assessments and things of nature. So that's so but you need to build it in a scale that's appropriate for your size. So you don't over engineer, but you need to build that's what I meant by ecosystem.
Yeah, you have to have a way of evaluating the things you do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the essence of it. Yes, that is the essence of it. But you
Okay.
need to, but it needs to be evaluated objectively.
Of course. I understand. You know, if it's not an objective evaluation, what is it? It's just an opinion.
It's an opinion, right? And if you have a startup with 3 or 4 leaders, everybody might have an opinion. The loudest voice gets to decision is whoever is the loudest wins. Then you might have a subjective assessment.
I understand. And and you begin each day with yoga and meditation. How does that influence your work as a tech leader?
I start my day knowing that I've already accomplished something.
Nice.
so so that's a great feeling to get the day off. Um, of course, it has helped me health, but that's a given. That's a given. But that's the most important thing. It's an early start. It's it's before I check my phone. So I start my day. I have not checked my phone, and that several years back, that's the first thing I have to check my phone, and then the day starts. Then it's a chaos, addressing fires, addressing challenges, following up. The day of the business world starts. But if you feel and that makes a difference. You
I
want,
get.
I mean, if that's the, and it's an accomplishment you can control. I may not be able to control what my client tells me. I may not be able to control what my employee tells me, uh, but I can control that I can do yoga and meditation and feel, and then I get accomplishment through
I
that.
get it. You know, you start the day with something positive, and it sets the tone for the day. You know, you've started the day with an accomplishment, and then that just sets the tone for other accomplishments that you can do throughout the day. So yeah, thank you. That is our time here, and I greatly appreciate you spending some time. Is there any final thought you'd like to uh, add before we end this stream?
No, I think you covered it all. Thanks. I have, you had a lot of intelligent questions. I'm glad I could participate in the conversation. Uh, and no, it was great fun. It was great fun chatting and having this conversation. So, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. And remember to tune in next time to the Power Knot. All right. Well, let's end it.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Juan. Is it Juan? It's
Juan. Yes.
Juan. Thank you, Juan. Thanks for having me. A pleasure chatting with you and have a good day.
All right. Oh.